Yeah.
Who are my musical influences? My musical influences range greatly. Obviously I'm a huge blues fan, so I came to blues by way of great rock bands like Led Zeppelin and Eric Clapton and Johnny Winter and Jimi Hendrix and people like that. And then I realized very early that what I loved most about their music was the actual blues influence. And of course, I love Stevie Ray Vaughan. And then I started checking out great guys like Muddy Waters. I love him, of course. And there was a wonderful guitar player by the name of Mel Brown who made his home in Kitchener, Ontario, where I was born and raised. And he was a really, really huge influence, not just on me, but on a lot of other people that were growing up in the Kitchener area at that time. So I also like jazz guys, too. I love jazz guitar players, Joe Pass, Kenny Burrell. You know, there's so many great artists, and I don't try and limit myself musically. I try and keep an open mind. For me, it's always different. Sometimes it can be just an idea. Usually it starts with a musical idea first. And then I'll have, sort of random thoughts that I come back to and see if they're going to fit into that style of music that I see for the song. But that's not always the case. Sometimes it's I get a really, really good idea, or what I think is a good idea, and I just sort of try and stay out of the way of the song. You know, there's a great quote from Neil Young who says, songs are like rabbits and you're like a hunter. You just have to try not to scare it off. So that's kind of what it's like really for me. And I get inspiration from lots of different areas. The first song I ever learned, oh my goodness, I'd have to think about that. It was probably, like, in terms of, the first song I learned, it was probably a Neil Young song. Because I have three brothers, two older brothers and one younger brother. And my oldest brother bought me a harmonica when I was starting to get pretty good on the guitar. And he said, well, if you're going to play the guitar, you should play this too. So I started learning a whole bunch of Neil Young songs. Probably like maybe Heart of Gold, something like that. Well, yeah, there's a lot of great artists. I've been fortunate enough to play with artists like B.B. King and Buddy Guy and amazing artists. So if you had told me that I would get a chance to do that back then before it happened, I would have said you're probably crazy. But one of the artists that I would love a chance to sit down and work with and talk to is Eric Clapton, because he's just amazing and I really respect everything that he's done. But there's a lot of other artists that I'd love to work with, but he's definitely one that would be on my list. Yeah, thankfully there's a few really, really cool moments. One pretty great experience was when I went up to Alert to entertain our Canadian forces, armed forces that are stationed up there. It's pretty amazing up there. So it's at the North Pole, and I was supposed to be there for 2 days, and I was actually there for 2 weeks because we got stranded there because of the weather. So that's something that you don't forget. It was an incredible experience. And then I remember another big moment for me was when I had the chance to open up for Buddy Guy. And it was in Hamilton, where I've lived for the last 23 years or something like that. And I played with Buddy Guy, and I opened up, and it was just absolutely incredible. And I sold so many CDs that they had to come out and tell people to go and sit down for Buddy Guy's show. And there was a huge lineup, and I just remember sort of thinking that was like one of those moments that you think, okay, this is working. I can do this. It's a really cool thing. Absolutely amazing. Another one of those moments that gave me that thought. I grew up in Kitchener, and I used to go to, when I was in high school, I used to walk past a place called the Centre in the Square, which is really the big venue in Kitchener. And I remember thinking, someday I'm going to play there. And then I got a chance to open up for B.B. King right there. And so it's very surreal. You're on that stage opening up for one of the biggest, if not the biggest blues artist that has ever lived in your hometown. It was just one of those classic moments. It's really special. It's a pretty amazing thing. I don't think any artist, ever you don't write music to go, oh, somebody's going to give me an award for this. You do it because you want to do it and it's your passion. But I can tell you that when I got that first nomination back in 2013, that was a really special thing. And I was in great company back then, just like I am this year as well. So it's, to play this style of music too, which, let's face it, it's more of a niche market. It's not necessarily commercial, not the way pop music is or any other style of music that they play on the radio these days. But to get that kind of recognition, and especially with the kind of record that I made this time around, it's a pretty great thing. And like I said, you don't set out to go, oh, I'm going to win awards for this, but it's really nice when people take notice. Yeah, it changes all the time. I have 6 albums out now, so there's a lot of material, and the set list changes depending on the kind of show that you're doing. So, obviously you're going to do a bit of a different set if you're playing an outdoor festival in front of 20,000 people than you would in a more intimate venue like I'm playing here in Saskatoon tonight. The set list changes a little bit, but in terms of like a favorite song, there's a song called Soul Searchin' that I wrote on my first record that has still made it into basically every live performance that I've ever done in the last 12 years, because it's just one of those special songs. So if I had to pick one, that would definitely be at the top of the list. Yeah, well, the Blues in the Schools program it's a really, really cool thing, and they don't do it everywhere. I think a lot of places should do it more and more, especially in this day and age. But I really have to give, credit to the Saskatoon Blues Society, because they're the ones that approached me and said, I had done it 6 years ago when I performed at the festival here, and it went really, really well. So they asked me if I would want to do it again, and absolutely. I think any opportunity that we can get, and certainly as musicians, to pass on knowledge and excitement about music, not just blues music. I mean, I feel like blues is a foundation for every style of music. But if we can do that to the younger generation, that's what's going to keep it going on. And I know when I was younger, I had wonderful people pass it on to me, so I just want to sort of pay it forward and do that. So, and it's really interesting because I was in kindergarten to grade 8 schools as well, some 5 to 8, so some of the kids were a bit older. But to just try and get kids excited and thinking a little bit differently about how fun music can be, and it was a really great experience. One song I wish I wrote, I would say Let's Stay Together by Al Green. It's such a great song, and I usually say that in my show when I play that song. I say, well, I didn't write this one, I just wish that I had. But there's a lot of songs that I would say, that could fit into that. I mean, there's so many amazing songs, but that's one of them, partly because I love that song and I've been performing it for so long, but also it's just such a cool song, it has a great message, and so that would be one. As you see, this right here, so this is a Gibson ES 335, and that is my favorite guitar to play. I have 3 of them. This obviously is my black one. I tour a lot with this one because the other 2 they're very, very special, and they're all special, but they're really sort of, if something happened to them, I don't know what I'd do. So this has become my kind of touring guitar, and it's great. It's my favorite guitar to play. And then acoustic-wise, I also have a Gibson Blues King, which is a beautiful small little Gibson parlor-sized guitar, which is great. I actually got asked this question this week as well, and my honest answer is I have no idea what I would do if I wasn't a musician. I was fortunate at a very young age to realize that this is exactly what it was I was going to do and what I wanted to do. So I never really had a plan B. I never went, oh, geez, well, if that doesn't work out, I'll just do this. But, when in my younger years, I really thought I was going to be a professional soccer player, and I gave up playing soccer to play music full time and tour and travel. But this is really it for me, and I'm pretty lucky that I get a chance to make a living doing it. The life of a musician is not necessarily a very easy one, but it's hard to do a lot of different. Doesn't matter what field you pick. It can be hard, right? But I'm so passionate about it, and I love it. And I just, when you're on those long drives or long travel days that all of us musicians have to go through, those are the things that I think it's helpful to remind yourself of that. I love to spend my time with my family. I have a beautiful wife and two beautiful girls at home. And when I'm not touring, I try and be really present in their lives. So it's difficult as a musician when you're gone. But there's a lot of perks when you're home. I can be that parent that shows up at their Christmas assemblies and all those things and goes into the school. And so that's a really special thing to do. But I also, basically when I'm not on the road, I'm thinking about the next shows that I need to book or the next record that I have to do. It's my life. It's there. It's not everything. My family is obviously the most important thing, but that's what I like to do. I like to spend time with my family and hang out when I'm at home.
Are your kids gonna pick up a guitar?
They both.
Break the sound down here?
Well, I don't know about that. I try not to. I don't actually push them into it. Both of them play piano, and they're starting to play guitar a little bit. And if they have interest, then obviously I'm gonna say, hey, I'll show you a few things, and I have already. But I don't force it on them. If they want to do it, then absolutely do it. And if they just want to do it for fun, that's fine too.